So I'm pretty excited about today's topic at the Breakthrough. We're going to talk about $1 million sprint going from zero to $1 million, whether you want that to be cash, equity, what have you. The reason we're talking about this was a few weeks ago, I got invited to a panel, and that was the topic. I was on a panel with a few other investors, and the context was that you're going to be dropped off in a remote market, different from your own, other side of the country, what have you. Then you're starting out with no money, okay, no contacts, no resources, nothing. All that you have, cell phone, a laptop, and the knowledge. You get to keep all your knowledge, okay, but you got to start from nothing. What would you do? That exercise was to go from 0 to 2 million, okay? And the first question was, are my wife and my kids coming with me? I have to feed and take care of them. And time-wise, for this exercise, it'd be much easier without wife and kids. But I'm here to tell you, like, wherever you're starting from, I started this thing with the wife and kids and broke, so you can do it either way, and you don't have to sacrifice those things. A segue to the breakthrough is this isn't all going to be about making money. A lot of it is, but not the whole thing. But I have to give a disclaimer. Anything that we share at the Breakthrough is intended for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing presented should be considered financial, legal, tax, investment advice. So whatever I share today, if you go out and do something, like, you're doing it at your own risk. If you don't feel comfortable with whatever decisions you're making, ask a professional, consult with them, get legal advice before you start investing. There's my disclaimer. So for those of you first attending the Breakthrough, anyone watching this, some people have asked, replays are posted on my YouTube channel. They're all in there. So times we've talked about raising money, flipping homes, whatever. If you ever miss an event, you can catch those on my YouTube channel, but you must like, subscribe, and comment. My mission is to help motivate, educate, and inspire, and equip each and every one of you to go out and create the life and business of your dreams. And I'm doing the same by leading through example. The bumps, the bruises, the highs, the lows, what have you, it's a never-ending pursuit. And that's what I'm here to do, is to do that, to kick you into gear, motivate you, pick you. And that's the beauty of groups like this. Because if you're an entrepreneur and you're pushing hard, I heard you earlier, like, sometimes it's just hard. You need a little reset. You need to take a little break. But the problem is sometimes, like, when we're building a business, if we don't have somewhere where we can get recharged and replugged in, most people will just quit. This gets hard. They feel like they're alone on an island, and they just give up. They give up on their dreams. They give up on their business, and they just settle. Whatever that status quo is for them, that's what they do. So since I've been doing this almost 18 years, and I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to quit. I can't tell you how many times I've been kicked in. I was talking to one of my partners yesterday we have several partnerships going on and land deals. We're doing a commercial deal. That was the first thing he said, man, what's going on? He's been getting kicked in for the last week on an apartment deal he's working on. But you have to have places where you can go get recharged. And sometimes you need to charge somebody else up. Okay, I've been involved in many masterminds over the years. And sometimes we need to come to these events and get plugged in because we need to be picked up and we need to get charged up. But sometimes we need to charge somebody else up, lift somebody up, motivate somebody. And so that's the purpose here. I'm trying to build a community built on truth, an environment with real honest conversations, a focus on life and business. We're not just going to talk about money. We're going to talk about building a life that you can be proud of. I'm creating a standard with my own life and my business to challenge you guys to level up. And then meet or hell, create your own standard, but something that you can be proud of, and just like begin to create your own legacy. Ultimately, I want people in this room and attending this who are in the arena. That means you're out there doing deals, you're doing transactions. You're not just sitting here watching, taking notes, killing time, being a part of group, but not contributing to it. And how you can contribute the most is by doing deals, going out there, doing transactions, getting feedback, sharing your experience with others. That's what we're here about. Everything I teach is based on business fundamentals, real estate fundamentals, the 5 fundamentals of real estate that you can see there, life principles. I believe wholeheartedly in creating freedom in all areas of life, in your faith, your family, your fitness, and your finances, like really creating a have-it-all type of lifestyle, okay, where you don't have to be one-dimensional. You can thrive in one area, but what good is that if you're absolutely just, feel dead or decaying in other areas of life? So I recommend, if you weren't here 2 weeks ago, I did an in-depth training on this. It's on the YouTube channel. It teaches you and shares with you some things that I do, make sure that you have consistent, if not daily, investing into all of these areas of life. Imagine a vehicle with 1 flat tire or 2 flat tires. You're not going to go very far. Okay. Same way, you can create an incredible business But if your faith or your fitness or your family, whatever, is like, you got a flat tire there, what good is it? It's not gonna, you're like, it's not okay. Anything I share with you is not like, I'm not just making it up. It comes from real life experience. So if you guys want to ask questions online, you just pop it in the chat.
We want to make sure that we are being the bad source. So we're here to educate you on different educational platforms.
$1 million sprint. This is a pretty cool topic. This is something we could probably, most topics I could probably do a weekend seminar on, but we're compressing these down to like 45 minutes. So I'm going to do my best on this. So let's talk about $1 million sprint from 0 to 7 figures. Most of you may be starting from 0. Some of you may be starting, you got some money in your pocket, you got some money in the bank, great. Some of you may be below 0, just to be honest. Like you may have a negative behind your number. Wherever you're at, that's okay. What's not okay is not to start. Okay. Like I mentioned, this was a topic that on a panel I was like, was a really good exercise. It got me kind of thinking about some things like, what if I had to start over? What would I do? What have I done in the past that's worked really well that I could focus on that? And what have I done in the past that hasn't worked so well that I would just probably eliminate if I was going back in time, right? It's very similar to the show that Grant Cardone was on years ago. I watched 1 or 2 episodes, Undercover Millionaire or something. Going from 0 to 7 figures. All right, whether it's cash, equity, you guys set the rules. But I mean, here's another thing I want to say real quick. Is like sometimes if it's free events, it's free information, people, they devalue it because it's free. So what I would say with that, if you're really, really serious, don't devalue this just because it's free, because there's going to be a lot of value in this. So if you want to pay me $10,000, I'll share the same information, then maybe you'll value it more and take action on it. But I'm telling you, there's some really good stuff in this. If there's any of you watching or you're not where you want to be financially, which with most people, let's pay attention to this. I think this is really good. So number 1, let's talk about sprint. Okay, define your sprint. And I'm using that word loosely because what we don't want to do, we don't want to be type A and we take massive action without building a plan, like a really, really clear plan first. To be honest, like if I retitled this, it'd be like a steady jog. All right, a steady, fast jog is what we're trying to do. So define what that looks for you. Using a SMART goal, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound. This is really important because when we dig into this a little bit, goal setting, so many people, they're very generic with their goal setting. That's bad. That's going to get you very generic results. We need to be very, very specific when we're setting goals. A lot of people don't just stop and do that. Get real clear on it. Not just one time you set a goal, you hardwire your mind. Like your brain is your operating system. You get to choose what you program it with. You know, sharing my poster board story when I started, when I was broke, living in an apartment, I got that poster board, posted on my wall, drew those 10 squares. I'm doing 10 deals this year. No matter what, it was hardwiring my brain. I had a goal that was specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. I had to do it in 1 year. That poster board changed my life because it brought this to life. So time is a key component. If you say, I want to make $1 million, great, let's set a time. I want to have $1 million of equity, great, let's set a time. I don't care if it's 6 months, a year, or 2 years, but set a time and get to work on it, okay? But I would encourage you that time is of the essence, because the longer you wait to begin and start and acquire assets, hard assets, mainly real estate, the harder it's going to be to catch up, okay? The harder it's going to be to catch up. Why? Because we're getting older. Okay, that's the same for everybody, but more so in today's market, because what we are now seeing and experiencing in real time, AI, automation, and scale, they're compressing opportunity, and the rich are getting richer. They're accelerating their asset accumulation more so than ever before, and the poor are getting poorer. So there's this disparagement, right, between the rich, the haves and the have-nots. How much real estate is owned by investment companies, the hedge funds, the BlackRocks of the world? It's 40%, whatever it is, and it's growing. I don't care what the legislation is. You don't think that these hedge funds aren't going to find workarounds to be able to still buy real estate? They already have. So things are speeding up. As we add on another layer, not only AI and all the automation, but now there's going to be robots soon doing physical labor work, going out and fixing. Like I'm telling you, opportunity is shrinking. We need to begin taking action now, because the window, 3 years, 5 years, it's shrinking. And also each one of us, our time is shrinking too. Well, we only have so many days on this earth, and your time, what you do with your time is what I believe what will be judged for a certain extent. So make the use of your time and do well with your talents. Go out and create. Okay. So in those who have assets, that's the other thing. There's a reason that rich get richer, poor get poorer. And the main reason why is because the rich people, wealthy, have assets, and the poor, they don't. They have liabilities and they have a job. And as inflation increases, right, the dollar decreases, the poor, they have to do more just to get by, and their standards of living don't increase, they typically decrease. So I would encourage each and every one of you, if you don't have a sense of urgency and you don't have a clear plan on what you want to create in your life and your business, I would encourage you, like, start now. Don't care where you're at, start now. So I'm probably going to come back and do like a whole training on this, but the way that I want to frame some of the things we're going to get into is with a previous training that I've done multiple times. To do it with my coaching students on occasion, where I sense like, hey, there's not a good framework here. So I'm going to set a framework that can be very, very valuable for you guys. Just call it the 3 buckets of real estate. So first and foremost, if you're looking to sprint $1 million net worth or cash, number one, you have to satisfy what I'll call the active income bucket. Everyone here has bills to pay. You got to have food, you got to have housing, you got to have a car, you got to have internet, you have wife, kids, dogs, whatever. You got to pay the bills. You got to pay the bills. So start here, focus here. If you've got a well-paying job, you've got a good job, and you say, well, Brant's saying invest in all this real estate, probably don't quit that job just to go into real estate right away. Okay. This situation is different for different people. When I started in real estate, I absolutely hated my job. I did not like my job at all, but I chose to stay there for about 2 years and 3 months and 12 days. It was counting down like I hated it, but stayed at my job until I had about 25 deals under my belt and I could break away. If you're in a position like I was and your job's paying your bills, I would encourage you, keep that job unless you just hate it, and begin investing in real estate, getting your education, getting your foundation set to start investing also. Or another option, another really good option, if I went back in time, I wouldn't have quit my job day one, but I would have left my job and got another job in real estate with doing something that I enjoyed and that was also synergistic with my investing business, right? I would have gotten a mortgage license. I would have been written loans for hard money loans. I would have become a real estate agent. I would have done things where I could pay my bills, fill up my active income bucket while also being in that arena of real estate. Does that make sense? It's really important. A lot of times I see people, they quit their job too soon. I'm like, and now they go back because they put themselves in a mess. So think about that. And this is going to be one of my pillars later, which one of my keys to building wealth. I'd say this all the time. Build a business and invest in real estate. Build a business, invest in real estate. Build a business you love and that is synergistic with real estate, and invest in real estate. And if you want, you can build multiple businesses, which I've done, and also invest in real estate. Now that what happens is that active income bucket, okay, is filled. You're not in a place of scarcity. Now you're in a place of abundance in terms of your needs are met. My monthly cash needs are met. My family needs are met. I'm providing for my family. Now you've created some space where you're beginning to acquire some additional cash and some opportunities to expand. Now, once you fill up that active bucket, now is a good time to start finding some passive investments. Because see, what I've seen a lot of people do is they quit their job and they go, so I'm going to go buy a bunch of rentals. And I'm like, trust me, that's probably not going to work out well. Ask me how I know. Okay. Because I thankfully kept my job and had over 25 rentals. I'm like, this really isn't paying my bills because I'm putting most of that money back into my rental portfolio, which was great because my balance sheet was going up. But I said, I'm not going to live off this money. That's going to be a long-term investment that I'm not going to eat off of, right? It's going to create wealth. But as you're building up that active income bucket, now you start finding passive investments. These are rentals, these are notes, mobile home park deals, things of that nature. And to clarify too, when I'm saying active income, what are we saying here? Anything that's truly not passive. That could also be flipping. That could be wholesaling, whatever that takes like active work that you're probably going to pay a lot of taxes on when you're done. Okay. So do that as much as you can, but to create wealth, you need more assets in that passive bucket. And now as you grow your active income, the more that you grow that, the more that you're able to pour over into other types of investments, passive investments. And then as you do that, then your wealth bucket essentially will begin to fill, right? My wealth bucket started at ground zero. Passive bucket was ground zero. My active income was just enough to pay my bills. That was it. That's where I started from. So start filling up that bucket. Let the first bucket run over to your passive bucket. And that's what's for me was originally rentals. Had 30, 40 rentals. And then I left my job, started flipping, never wholesaled a lot, but I started flipping a lot, started a construction company that was synergistic with my real estate business. Now I was able to do more deals, and we ventured into buying land, mobile home parks, RV parks, commercial property, all that type of stuff. So now my wealth it's in a good place, like a place where I never thought it would be. And it started by doing this. Does this make sense?
Let's get a little practical. For those in the room, real estate, like for most of us here, and then passive would be remedies, things of that nature. Then the wealth building isn't a debt pay down on those assets. That's not a whole lot. And then you're betting on appreciation, but as you said, it doesn't.
Yep.
So I guess the wealth building is in acquiring assets under a discount, and that's where your equity capture is.
Your passive. So good question. So your passive investments. So we're calling rentals. We're calling Airbnb. I'm calling even my pad split, which it was a pretty shitty week one. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm like, okay, week two, like it's not too bad. We'll see. But those my mobile home parks at time, like I haven't been to my parks since our bus tour. I'm leaving to go today. So it's been 3 or 4 months. That's only my East Texas parks. I haven't been there in 4 months. That's pretty passive, right? But at times it's not. When an 18-wheeler drives through, mess up, like which happens, they're not so passive. But these are passive investments. Passive investments overflow into your wealth bucket, meaning as equity accrues here, right? Your equity, and your wealth, take a step back. Your passive investments are passive investments, but your passive investments are what create your wealth. This bucket, it's not in this bucket. No, if you have if you buy 10 rentals and you have 500,000 of equity, that's essentially, if you see like a meter going up in your wealth bucket, it's there. And if your goal is $1 million, you have 500, like what other investments, passive, can I add that will help fill up my wealth bucket? Does that make sense? Whether they're notes, parks, apartments, whatever, what have you, those are passive investments. And that's how you fill up this wealth bucket. And that's how I started. Now I've got idle cash. That's not smart. So that's why I started buying metals. I bought gold. I bought silver. I dare to mention, like, I'm investing a little bit in crypto, and that's accumulating my wealth, right? But that's all been generated from here, and here fills up this. Does that make, they all pour over into one another, right? You can set up, I'm teaching my kids now, like I've got my kids set up like on the Robinhood apps. And every 2 weeks, my daughter just got her first job. She set up a Robinhood app. So she's, I think it's like $20 every 2 weeks, but it's building that habit where she now is taking care of her active income, but she's also going to start filling up this bucket right now. Does that make sense? So that's the context. A lot of people try to jump here, but they haven't satisfied this and they can't even pay their bills. There are maybe some markets where you could actually kind of do that. This isn't that market, in my opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the wealth piece, fair to say that you have a decision to make which you do, and you buy a Ferrari, depreciating asset, or you can buy or invest it in more appreciating assets. Exactly. But a lot of people, they will put themselves in a bad spot because they haven't fixed that bucket. You got to fix that piece. You got to make sure, most of the guys here, but like I say, mama and the kids are good. Like you're bringing home the buffalo each and every month. Bills, like needs are met. Boom. Now let me do some investing. And the more wise investing that you do, and also the more passive investing that you do, because flipping is just a job. Wholesaling is just a job. And I get it. Like I still flip to a certain extent. We're still wholesaling some deals. Like I got a business to run. We're trying to make cash and things like that. But I know that the more focus that I put on my passive investments, the more that my wealth accumulation is going to occur. So get focused. All right. So number one is get focused. That's the fundamental of 5 fundamentals of real estate is your focus. Number one, define what is your focus, and you have to put on some blinders and say, this is my focus. This is all that I'm going to say yes to. Maybe not for forever, but right now, this is my plan to get to $1 million. You have to say yes to what is scalable, strategic with the market conditions, what you're drawn to, because there's a lot of things in real estate. You may love something that I don't like, and I may like it. You love it or hate it or what have you. So figure out what you're going to say yes to. After that, have the discipline to say no to everything else. And that's really, really hard. I see a lot of network junkies and they're event junkies, and they're bumping around to this, that, and the other thing.
and they essentially will create a big circle. We could call that a vicious circle. They go boop, 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 and they end up right at the same spot because they didn't say, no, I'm going to go all in on whatever strategy they want to go all in on. Commitment, have that mindset. Okay, have that mindset like, I'm done. Just like me in that poster board in year one, I'm like, I'm doing these 10 deals. That's all I'm doing. Period. I'm buying 10 rental properties. I don't even know how. I'm just going to figure it out. Not even paying attention to anything else in terms of business. And figure out, you need another commitment though, in addition to money, in my opinion. Like figure out like, why must this happen? And have that mindset in order to make this happen. Like failure cannot be an option. Like it's just not. Like my mindset was literally like, I will die or I will not sleep. Like it's just not going to be an option. And if I fail or if I stumble, I'll get back up. When I said that I started from zero, it was the truth. But if I told you, if I did the prelude to the story, the prelude to the story was like, I was financially illiterate, uneducated, and my wife and I had student loans, credit card debts, car loans, and we're financially illiterate. And we went through a Dave Ramsey thing, and this didn't happen overnight. This took several years, but we eventually paid all that stuff off, all that junk off, and we got to a place where we eliminated our liabilities. Okay, we eliminate all liabilities, live in an apartment. So we did that. I'm not going to tell you not to start, but I'm going to tell you like hyper focus needs to be on eliminating liabilities. Go reread Rich Dad, Poor Dad, understand the differences between liabilities and assets. You want to eliminate liabilities in the beginning. Okay, so anything that's a liability, and I've spoken on financially, bad debt, credit cards, all that kind of stuff. Number two, there's liabilities in some of your relationships. Okay. So when I decided like I'm going all in with this entrepreneur thing, I started looking at some of people in my life and I'm like, those people are a liability. Using my time there, that's going to hold me back. That's going to stop my growth. So I just had to eliminate certain relationships in my life. Not like never going to talk to them again, but like beer drinking buddies, certain friends, certain family members, they're not going to get you where you want to go. And your mentality, probably the biggest liability that you're going to have to overcome is up here. That's why with my reading time, which is like my daily reading time, and thank you, by the way, Aldridge gave me a book, The 4 Agreements. I spend most of my time reading like personal development, things like that, my morning time reading, because this is the biggest battle. This mental piece is what we got to fight. And that's when I got into becoming an entrepreneur. I just so happened to start spending time learning about personal development. And you got to keep that mind sharp. You got to overcome your own doubts and fears. That's so much more a bigger obstacle than what's going on in the marketplace. So much bigger. All right. So the next piece, you have to have a marketing plan. You have to have a marketing plan. I've worked and coached with a lot of people over the years, and I'll get the complaint that they're not getting enough deals. They're not getting enough opportunities. And it's very easy to uncover the root of the problem. They don't have a marketing plan. They don't have a marketing plan. And some of them have a marketing plan, but that marketing plan is not working. So we need an effective marketing plan. If you don't have an effective marketing plan, it just means you're not putting enough focus there. And if you don't have an effective marketing plan, it's not negotiable. You're not going to achieve what it is you want to achieve. Because entrepreneurism 101, like being an entrepreneur, running a business, you got to have a marketing. You got to have a marketing plan because you have to have leads. And every single day in your business, you need to be making offers. That's as simple as that. When I say a marketing plan for us as entrepreneurs, there's 2 things that you need to be marketing for. And this can start day one, is marketing for deals and marketing for dollars. Marketing for deals, for opportunities in real estate, but also the capital to fund those deals, whether it be through private lenders, banks, all that kind of stuff. Those of you who know me know that I teach, preach, and live raising capital from private lenders. That's who fuels my entire business, is private lenders. So you can do both of those things simultaneously. And I encourage you to start like right away, developing, cultivating relationships, let people know what you're doing. And then build that plan. This is a cool thing too. Like a marketing plan, you can design it any way that you want. You can design it to bring you your ideal sellers and your ideal lenders. My lenders are friends. They're like basically extended family. And I love working with them, obviously, because I can do an unlimited amount of deals. And not only that, like I get joy in helping them achieve what they want, which is passive income through secured real estate. Yes, sir.
Especially if you first start, you're trying to acquire money, what kind of percentage do you end up getting up to that individual for the money?
So that's one of those questions I'm going to say we'll shelf it if we haven't at the time, because that gets in the weeds of that. And I talk a lot about that through other courses and training, but if we have time, I'll come to that. But basically you create a win-win. What they're happy with what you're happy with, if that makes sense for both sides. That's my principle. If I'm not happy, but they are, like, no. If I'm like really happy and they're not, it's a no. So we find win-win agreements, and that fluctuates between for me, we're raising capital 8 to 10% on average. Build your plan. I don't care how, direct marketing, indirect, start networking, getting relationships, but just be consistent. Say, this is my plan. I'm going to execute. I'm going to be consistent. And you're constantly assessing what's working, what's not working. What's working, put fuel on the fire, grow it. When it's not working, put fuel on it, burn it down, and start something new. Marketing is always in beta mode. It's never set in stone for forever. Like, it's always being tweaked, modified, but you must have a marketing plan, guys. Like, you're not just gonna, the magic wholesale fairy's not just gonna come drop deals on your plate. It's not gonna happen. Treat this like a business, like a real business. When it comes to the money side of things, this is one, when we talk about like the mental roadblocks, this is one of the biggest. I hear this all the time, like, man, I like to get started in real estate, but I don't have money. And that's where I laugh, because like, that's the reason I got into real estate, because I literally saw some books. I didn't even read these books in the beginning, but I saw books that you could do real estate with no money down. So that's the cool thing about real estate, that it is very creative. Like, there's ways to structure deals with no money down. Each and every month, we're closing deals each and every month with no money down. But we're getting what at closing, Vivian? What did we talk about last night? What did I get at closing? We're getting closing. We're getting cash. Yeah, we did the case study last night. Little simple fix and flip deal, make ready rehab. And when we bought the property, we got $26,000 wired to our account. The rehab budget was 20, but we got 26,000. How is that possible? We got more money than we needed, and we didn't have to make any payments to the lender because it was accrued interest, right? Yeah. It changes the game, and people don't even realize it's possible. But money is just an idea. It's just a thought. Go ahead.
Sure. So obviously, through experience, you can find creative ways to structure a deal. But aside from that, if you're just getting into this, books or anything that you recommend reading or looking at to start to get ideas of, like, thinking outside.
There's not a lot of good book options when I first got started in raising money. I studied Alan Cowgill for a short period of time, and I'll be honest with you, like, I just kind of figured it out. But Alan Cowgill was around. Nowadays, like, just spend some time on YouTube. Like, I do have a book coming out, hopefully by the end of the year, that will be getting into all the X's and O's. And I have a course online. It's called Private Money Mastery, but you can probably find most of what you need on YouTube nowadays. But here's what I want y'all to get from this: is money is an idea. Okay. It's brought to life by your ingenuity as an entrepreneur. Okay. It's brought to life by your ingenuity as an entrepreneur. What are we doing when we're raising capital? Okay. Number one, we're adding value. We're adding value to our lenders and to this real estate transaction that we're doing. We're finding undervalued property, right? And we're buying that property at a discount, which is a safe haven for money. Money is attracted to good deals, trustworthy people. Okay. Money is attracted to safety and to security, and money desires to grow. So we just have to provide an environment, or through multiple, where money can do what it's supposed to do. So that's our job as an entrepreneur, is to add value with that safety and the security and the opportunity for money to flow to. So how do you do that? Like, really believe in what you're doing. Going back to like the sprint, starting from 0 to $1 million. My year one, for those of you, don't know my story, year one, like, I was ground zero. But when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, when I began reading some other books, when I began going to networking events, I was like, this is the greatest information like I've ever heard in my life, short of the gospel. Like, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm going all in on this. And I believe wholeheartedly in it. So I was authentically telling people about it, excited about it. I believed in what I'm doing. Some people come into the market and they're not sure. Maybe they're dabbling with real estate. I'm going to see if this works. And like, they've got a half in mentality, right? From the toes out. What kind of confidence is that going to give your investors? Not much. And they can sense it. First year, through creative financing, hard money loans, and just free, easy money, because of lending times in 2007, I was able to get those 10 deals done. Year two, I put together partnerships and continued buying rentals. I wasn't that experienced. I still didn't really know. I had 1 year experience in real estate, but people started investing with me because of my certainty. They knew about the value of real estate, but they believed in me because of my certainty, which was 1,000%, right? So you need to believe in what you're doing to make this happen. And then as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to cast and create that vision. So that's all I was doing, was casting a vision like, hey, I'm investing in rental property. This is how we're finding these properties. This is how I've got a construction crew now put together. This is how we're renovating and this is how we're managing. This is the opportunity, earn passive income. I'll handle everything. I cast that vision, right? And they were like, we want to be a part of that. What are the next steps? Once you get this piece, you like literally have unlimited options. And this dawned on me. This was almost 2 years after I put together partnerships. I started raising money, but it really didn't dawn on me until I had a certain conversation with the lender and the light bulb went off. Because she had pulled a lot of money out of the stock market the year before, stock market crashed. And she's like, thank you so much for, reaching out to me about investing with you. Because if I hadn't done that, it would have wrecked me in the stock market. So thank you. And I'm like, what am I doing, man? Like, this is a conversation with myself. I'm like, dude, you're playing so freaking small because there's so many opportunities in real estate that's so much better than Wall Street. When you get this and when you believe it wholeheartedly, like there is no ceiling, because other people's money is how real estate is done. Okay. And when you understand that, this is one of the reasons I have a practice with some of my new coaching students. I'm like, let's pretend you have no money. I want you to have that mindset because I want you to figure out how to negotiate better, how to structure deals with no money down. And this is one of my saving graces, was starting with no money, because now it hardwired me to like, if a deal's a deal, I'll figure it out. I can find the money for it. We're under contract to buy a property in Green, Texas right now. I'm really excited about it. It's right across from Green Hall. Very excited about it. It's a multi-million-dollar commercial project. You mentioned land earlier. A buddy of mine, I'd never done a land deal, called me up one day. He's like, man, I think you need to take a look at this land deal. It was like a 7-figure land deal years and years ago. And I'm like, I don't know anything about land. What do you, but then I was like, all right, man, let's figure it out. So we ended up contracting that property, raised all the money to buy that property. And then 3 months later, he's like, hey man, I got another land deal. Why don't you take a look at it? I'm like, dude, I just raised for this. I brought all these investors in. I can't take a look at the land deal. And we closed on that land deal the same year. We bought multiple land deals, raised money. Well, one of them, I didn't raise all the money to. We put some money in that one. But my point is like, it's limitless. When I started buying RV parks, mobile home parks, what have you, it was other people's money because I cast a vision, and the vision is a good real estate deal, passive investment, secured by real estate, instant equity, all those key components of a good real estate deal. And then they had belief and trust in me that I would be a wise operator with their investment, with the real estate investment, right? And those are the kind of the keys to the kingdom. But in order to go from 0 to $1 million, like, understand, like, you really have unlimited options. You always have other people's money. There's a lot of creative financing opportunities out there today with Sub-2 and other things. You can always put together joint ventures, partnerships, syndications. I've done all of these. This excuse that I don't have money, I'm just going to have you consider, like, it is probably your biggest obstacle if you're using that as an excuse. And it will continue to be a barrier until you want to just like knock it down and walk through it. It's almost as simple as that, with going and getting some education and training behind that. It's really as simple as that. And my wealth tip on this is I didn't figure this out. Like, just because I was smart, I figured it out kind of the hard way. And I realized, oh yeah, that's how the wealthy create wealth. Like, you control assets with minimal cash. Because if you put all your cash in one real estate deal, there's nothing wrong with that. But now you've hardwired yourself like, hey, I can't do another deal until I have this cash. No, other people have cash, right? Other people have cash, and that cash is looking for a place to go. I get it. Stock market's at an all-time high, and that's great. I hope it remains an all-time high forever. Will it remain at an all-time high forever? No, there will be a crash, probably sooner rather than later. What happens when there's a crash? Money is looking for a safe haven. I would consider for you guys to get started. Whenever that time comes, you are that safe haven. You are that opportunity. Does that make sense? And then redeploy. So the more, like, going back to our bucket conversations, the more cash that you have coming in now you choose where you want to redeploy that cash into other opportunities, whether they're in your own deals, whether they're in other people's deals, or what have you. And then execute your strategy. Start executing. Here's my strategy recommendation. Do whatever you want. But if I were starting over, like I said, from 0 and I was going to sprint to $1 million, number one, I would build a business which is synergistic with my real estate business. And there's a lot to choose from. I mentioned you could be a realtor, you could be a lender, you could be an insurance agent, you could be a home inspector, you could flip houses, that's active, you could wholesale. Do something for active income to pay your bills And now that you have some disposable income to not to blow, but to invest. So build a business synergistic with your investing pursuits, because while you're building that business, if you're just working a job and you're paying your bills and you're happy, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you build a business, what are you creating at the same time? You're creating income for you and your family, but you're also creating an asset at some point in time that you can sell or can run with you and continue to be an asset, right? Active income. We talked on this a little bit, but in the beginning, if you're wholesaling, okay, you can do that. Understand some of the trade-offs with active income is taxes and things like that. So it's good to do the marketing and give yourself the opportunity to wholesale some deals here and there to take that cash, but you can also cherry pick the deals that you want to put into your passive bucket. And it's good to have options. Flipping is kind of the same thing. If you're sprinting from 0 to $1 million, what I would also say is you got to be careful in getting caught up in too many like rehab projects or like really projects that have a lot of heavy lifting, high stress quotient. Okay. Because those deals, there may be an opportunity, but there may be an opportunity cost there as well. Look at your ROI on every deal that you're going to do. And I'm not talking about just your return on your financial investment. You have to look at your time and your stress. What is going to be the return on that? And is that going to take me away from doing other opportunities? Does that make sense? So you got to look at that way. And then the way that you're going to speed up wealth creation, that you're going to grow your wealth bucket, your assets, your balance sheet, if you will, is really focused on creating more passive wealth opportunities. Wealth is not created spending time in the active income bucket. Okay. For the most part. Yeah. You could create like a, $10 million, $100 million company. Okay. You create wealth that way. But in terms of real estate investing, what I found, it's not done overnight. And that's why I was almost hesitant to do the $1 million sprint thing. So a lot of people want to get rich quick, and wealth is not a quick game. Wealth is a long-term play from my experience. Okay. But there are ways that you can definitely speed up that curve. And it begins with just buying and holding real estate, cash flowing, even land. Like I've created a lot of wealth through land. People are like, well, land doesn't cash flow. Well, no, but it's a very nice asset to have on your balance sheet, especially if you have no cash in it. You're just the syndicator. Does that make sense? Like land deals are doing very well now after several years where I syndicated that. Investors brought in money and like we're doing really well off land. Look at ways to fill up that wealth bucket, and that's where wealth is going to be created, through buying home real estate. And then how do you like start getting traction or scale it? In the beginning, guys, like I was very lean. Like my wife and I paid off all that stuff. We cut out, most things, just to be honest with you, we cut out most things and we lived off a little for now. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy the ride. You can enjoy that. Like say, this is just a season, but you got to learn how to live off of a little so that you can start filling up those other buckets. And then as your investments increase, there you go. Systems, build processes and teams for sustainability. I would start building systems now because we get in the habit of doing everything ourselves and not thinking about through systems and processes and teams. Reinvest, turn quick wins into long-term plays. Like when you have big paydays and things like that, I did, like my wife and I, if I go back, like we've had some really nice house, like personal houses, and like we vacationed a lot and stuff like that. Not always bad, but it was like, if you're really set on that goal, have some discipline for a season just to reinvest a lot of those wins back into real estate or back into whatever you're going to invest in. The more that you do that, the more that you get creative, the more that you use some of the tax advantages, 1031 exchanges and other things, like the quicker that you'll accelerate your wealth. And then just keep doing it. Wealth grows as active and passive align and compound. Okay. Just keep moving forward, rinsing, repeating. And most important, you can't fail if you don't quit. Number one reason most real estate investors go out of business is not that they don't know how to find deals, manage contractors, raise money, all that kind of stuff. It's typically just from a lack of cash flow. They have a cash flow issue, which we all do as business owners and entrepreneurs. We all do. We're all going to go through that. But so I heard someone say that, like, the number one reason people go out of business is because of cash flow. Well, really, the number one reason they go out is because they ultimately quit. Okay, because you're going to be challenged, you're going to have setbacks, you're going to feel like you're painted into a corner at times. But if you just don't quit and you keep moving forward, operating on wise business principles and fundamentals that have been proven to work for decades, if not centuries, should not fail unless you fail to utilize them and operate them at their, at the capability that they're capable of working at. Just don't quit. Like, just don't freaking quit. And here's a scripture that I remind myself of quite often. Many of the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them from all. I know there's going to be times where like, man, I'm stuck. I can't move, keep going. Like, dude, just don't quit, man. I'm telling you, the times where things have been the most difficult, where I've been in the darkest and deepest spot, have always been the places where I've had the greatest learning and the greatest growth. And there's not been a time where I haven't come out of some struggle, some dark valley. Oh man. And I'm like, so grateful I went through it. I'm so grateful I went through that, because I've learned this. Now, no one can take that away from me. No one can take that knowledge, that experience, that pain, and that struggle from me. And there's a conversation I was having with on our call last night with a gentleman who's coming out of a valley on a particular very, very high-end deal. And it was a struggle. It was a challenge for him. So many others probably would have quit. When I would say most others probably would have quit, but he went through it. And now he's coming out the other side. I'm like, dude, you are going to be a badass now, especially like because you went through it, like in terms of raising money, doing other deals. Like, no, you won't. Not only have you learned from that, but now when you're raising deals, people can say, what happens if this happens? Well, let me show you exactly what I did, how I responded to, and how I navigated through a very difficult situation, doing the right thing. So that's our opportunity there is we take on this challenge. Just don't quit. Most people quit. Whatever it is, 70, 80% of businesses fail. So says the SBA. Well, they quit. Okay. So we've got a couple quick minutes for Q&A. This is a question that came in last week, so I want to try to start responding to these. And we were doing a presentation last week, and this gentleman asked, what loan would I get to turn the flip into a rental? I'd be using hard money to do the flip, but if things don't work out, I want to exit out and put a renter in. Do I go with an FHA loan? You'd probably go with a DSCR loan, but I will tell you that 99.9% of every single deal that we acquire, we fund with private money, somewhere in that 8 to 10% range. Okay, 8 to 10% range. And with our private lenders, this situation has happened before where a flip didn't flip. We put a renter in it for whatever reason. Market, other things. We invest in rural areas sometimes, and those are a little bit tricky, but we are always okay with plan B if we want to rent it or own or finance it. So my response to him and everybody is like, you need to wean yourself off of hard money at a certain point in time. Not that hard money's bad. I'm a hard money lender. But it's also like riding a bike with training wheels. You want to take those off. You want to get to more flexible money, okay, that's less expensive. And a lot of times private lenders are okay with this. Like, hey, keep it out for another 6 months to a year, get your refinance done. So they have flexibility. And then, did I answer that question that you asked earlier? So that's how it works. Like, and what I say also is you can typically tell the experience of the borrower by what they pay for their money. If you're just beginning to raise money, okay, you're probably going to pay a little bit more, because you're probably going to be, not necessarily, but you're likely going to be raising money from more experienced lenders who are comfortable loaning to a less experienced borrower. But at the more experience that you have, the more value that you create, the more security that you have. So money is okay with a lower return in exchange for safety, security, experience, if that makes sense. But on average, we're 8 to 10%, 0 to 1 points. The max I've paid to a private lender in a long, long time has been a point. We did just recently do a 12% loan with the lender, but we didn't pay a points. Those are the ranges for private money. All right. So last one, a couple things we'll wrap up. We do have an event coming up the end of next month. Hopefully that QR code works this time. It didn't work last week. I think that'll take you to the landing page, and then you can click on that and go to the Eventbrite. So we're doing a book launch, second edition of my private lender playbook. So we're looking to pack the room full of real estate investors and private lenders for a networking event, launch the book, have a little fun. We've got a little fundraising thing going on. I think Aldridge is going to help sponsor the event with closed title, just putting that out into the universe. I'm sure he's going to reciprocate. So that's going to be the end of April. We're going to start doing some promotions on that. So I'd love for you guys to all attend. $20. It's a $20 fee. We will release the book that night, so you'll get a copy of the book, and we're going to have food and drinks. We're going to have a good time. So I'd love for y'all to all be a part of that. And second to lastly, Breakthrough Capital. So rebranding our lending side of the business. If you're looking for money to do your deals and essentially do what is it you want to do. It's just create your vision. The website is live. This is only through Texas currently. In the future, we'll be expanding. But right now, if you're looking to fix and flip, buy a rental, what have you, Airbnb, hit us up at breakthroughcapital.com. And lastly, if you're an investor, if you're an agent, you're just in a place like, man, I'm ready to launch. I'm ready to grow my business. I'm ready to start investing. I'm ready to fill up my active, my passive, my wealth bucket. Hit that code. You'll schedule a one-on-one call with me, do a little strategy session, see where you're at, see what you're looking to do, and I'll get you going in the right direction, whether it's into one of our coaching programs, whether it's with our EXP team of investor agents that we're building at a very, very, very just a great pace, man. Like Ben's crushing it, Wes is crushing it. A lot of our Wolfpack members are crushing it, adding a lot of value to agents who are looking to begin not only working the agent side of the business, but also learn like, I need to do some deals and create wealth for myself. So hit me up. I can get you connected with the Wolfpack team. And that is all I have. And we're only a few minutes over time. So I thank you guys for coming out. Hope y'all got a lot of value from that. I enjoyed it. All right.